Here's the truth. You should retire as soon as humanly possible. And I know that's not what the world tells you to do. The world says, hang in there, work a few more years, pad that retirement account just a little bit more. But I'm here to tell you, waiting is the real gamble. You can save money, you can invest, but you can't stockpile time. And the longer you stay in the grind, punching the clock, the more you're betting against your most valuable assets, your health, freedom. Let me make it real for you a little bit. Just 2 weeks ago, I had a full knee replacement, which is why I have this cane. One minute I was going about my life, the next I was sidelined, my mobility shot, no energy, relying on people to help me do the most simple things. Now, I know it's not the end of the world. These days, they hand out new knees like Halloween candy. And there are certainly harder things to go through. But for me, it was a flashing neon sign that said, hey, your body has its own timeline. We don't always get to decide when things change. Sometimes life decides for us. And some of you will say, come on, that's what you're belly aching about, a new knee? I am, because it hurts. Give me something real, something serious. I can't retire for a reason like that. Touché, but for me, it's a reminder that the clock is always ticking. And one day your body will demand center stage, whether you're ready or not. For me, it's my knee. For you, who knows? That's why today I'm sharing 6 real reasons to retire as soon as you possibly can. Not the cliches, but the reasons that lurk a bit under the surface that nobody really talks about, but that you need to hear. Welcome to the Retirement Guide channel. I'm Daryl Rosen. My firm, Securement Wealth, helps people like you plan for and hopefully enjoy retirement. Hopefully. Let's get started. Here's the thing that most people don't want to admit. So we all walk around like we've got unlimited time, like next year or someday is guaranteed, as if life is just patiently waiting for us to finally be ready. But the hard truth is life doesn't care about your spreadsheet. It doesn't care about your 5-year plan. Health can turn on a dime. Family dynamics can flip overnight. The markets can tank. And if the last decade has taught us anything, it's that the whole world can change without asking for your permission. That's why early retirement isn't about quitting. It's about understanding that the rules of the game can change without proper notice. When you retire early, you're not walking away from purpose. You're buying back the one thing you'll never get a second shot at, your time. You're giving yourself the chance to actually live your life and your good years instead of hoping there's still gas in the tank when you finally clock out at 67 or 70. When my clients come to me with questions like this, I encourage them to think about it this way. Every extra year you work past the point you could retire is like doubling down at the blackjack table at 1 a.m. It feels responsible, but let's be honest, the odds aren't exactly great, especially if you've been enjoying the free drinks. And here's where this really hits home for me. So 2 weeks ago, as I mentioned, I had a full knee replacement. This whole experience has been a wake-up call. I had a procedure that doctors do all over America every single day. Nothing extraordinary in the grand scheme of things, but it made me stop and think. Life throws curveballs, plans change, and the truth is, I don't know what this summer looks like now. I'm only 58, but these things happen to people all the time at this age. And after, instead of taking note, many people keep grinding away. That's a mistake in my book. That's my story. Now I want to hear from you. Has something ever happened in your life that really made you realize how fast things can change? Let me know in the comments. Okay, here's my second reason to retire as soon as you can. You'll finally have time to declutter, not just your house, but your mind. Well, mostly your house. This one doesn't get talked about enough, really, I think. When most people think about retirement, they picture vacations and golf, not cleaning out closets. But let me tell you, this is one of the most freeing parts of stepping away early, because years of career hustle don't just fill your calendar, they fill your garage, your closets, and your brain with clutter. Clutter you didn't even know you had or were carrying. Think about it. Decades of work means decades of accumulating stuff, like physical stuff, like the boxes in your attic, the things you haven't opened since the 1990s. And mental stuff, like old work stress, relationships you've neglected, or stories you've told yourself about who you have to be. Several clients have told me that early retirement finally gave them the breathing room to clear it all out, to go through the junk drawers and the junk thoughts you've been stuffing away for years. Now, this is a topic I feel very strongly about, and I know not everyone sees it the same way. For every parent who feels it's their responsibility to clean up their own mess, there's probably another who shrugs and says, I'll let the kids deal with it when I'm gone. I am firmly in the first camp. We just finished selling my wife's parents' house. And let me tell you, it was a massive project. Jill and her sister Heidi, they spent hundreds of hours sorting through every closet, drawer, and box. Most of it hadn't been touched in years. And it wasn't just the physical stuff. It was the emotional weight of trying to decide what to keep, what to toss, what truly mattered. And here's the thing. That same clutter shows up in our lives in more ways than just boxes in a garage. It's in the way we carry stress, old stories, responsibilities, things we don't need anymore. I'm reminded of a line from Marie Kondo's very great book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. She says, the question of what you want to own is actually the question of how you want to live your life. And I think the same is true for how we spend our time and energy. When you're still working, you're too busy keeping all the plates spinning to even ask yourself that question. But when you retire early, you finally have the space to clear out the clutter physically and mentally and make room for whatever's next. The third reason I want you to retire as soon as you can is you get to rewire your identity before life forces you to. This one's a biggie, and I think most people really don't talk about it. We spend so much of our adult lives being defined by what we do. We have job titles, careers, responsibilities. We forget who we are underneath it all. Most people don't start peeling that back until they're burned out or sick or staring down some kind of crisis that forces them to. But when you retire early, you get the rare chance to rewrite your story on your own terms, while you still have the energy, the curiosity, and most importantly, the drive to actually enjoy the process. You stop being the boss, the teacher, the accountant, or whatever label you've worn for decades, and you start being you again. That may be the same person or someone completely different. The point is, you need enough energy to figure it out. There's a great example in the book Transitions by William Bridges. He talks about every major life change has 3 stages: an ending, a messy middle, and a new beginning. Most people never make it to that new beginning because they get stuck in survival mode, clinging to the old identity. Retiring early gives you the time and the space to sit in that messy middle and actually figure out what's next. Not because you're forced to, but because you choose to. And let me tell you, that's a luxury most people don't realize they have until they don't. Reason number 4 to retire as soon as you can finally get off the treadmill of deferred maintenance. One of the sneakiest dangers of the working grind is how easy it is to put off the little things, the stuff that doesn't scream for your attention, but quietly breaks down in the background. I call it deferred maintenance, not deferred income or deferred compensation. Those things are really good. But deferred maintenance is different. That's your health, your hobbies, your marriage, your friendships, the parts of your life that actually matter but rarely show up on your to-do list. When you're working, it's super easy to say, I'll deal with that next month, after this project is done, when things slow down. But things never really slow down, do they? And over time, those little cracks become big problems. Your blood pressure creeps up, your social circle shrinks, your passions fade into the background. There's a brief but really good line from Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I know you know that book, where he says, urgent things crowd out the important things. That's exactly what happens when you stay in the grind too long. Early retirement isn't just about free time. It's about finally having the bandwidth to start repairing, restoring, and reconnecting with the parts of your life you've been putting on hold for so many years. Because by the time the check engine light comes on, it's usually too late. Reason number 5 is that you get to experience weekdays like a local, not a tourist. This one is very subtle but powerful. When people dream about retirement, they often picture vacations and beaches and cruises, all the things we talk about, bucket list, trips. But here's the truth. The real magic isn't in the big trips, and it's in the Tuesdays, the simple everyday freedom to live life without a clock ticking in your head. When you retire as soon as you can, you finally get to experience weekdays the way locals do, not like a tourist squeezing in fun between obligations. You can go to the grocery store when it's empty. You can hit the gym when it's quiet. You can walk your neighborhood without having to rush back for a meeting. It's not glamorous, but it's real, and it's yours. I had a client years ago, let's call him Mark, who sold his business and retired at age 58. He told me the thing he loved about retirement wasn't trips or big purchases. It was Tuesday mornings. He'd take his dog for a long walk, stop for coffee, sit outside and watch the world go by while everyone else was rushing to their obligations. He said, for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm actually living where I live. That's the freedom nobody really talks about, the freedom to finally slow down and experience the life you've been driving past on your way to the office. And our final reason, you get the gift of boredom. And that's where creativity lives. Now, this one might surprise you, but it's one of the most overlooked gifts of early retirement, the space to be bored. Most people spend their entire working lives trying to avoid boredom, rushing from meeting to meeting, chasing deadlines, juggling responsibilities. But here's the irony. When you're always busy, you never give your brain the chance to wander. And wandering is where the magic happens. When you retire early, there's no more constant noise pulling at your attention. And after the initial buzz of free time wears off, you'll hit something most people dread, but can be helpful: boredom. Instead of fearing it, you'll realize it's actually a doorway, because on the other side of boredom is curiosity, creativity, and the spark for whatever comes next. In the book Out of My Later Years, by my very, very closest friend, Albert Einstein, he talks about how much of his creativity came not from being busy, but from having idle, unstructured time to simply think. He once said, creativity is the residue of time wasted. And while we're not all trying to crack the theory of relativity, that same principle applies when you retire early. You finally have enough quiet space to let ideas bubble up. The hobbies you set aside, the book you always wanted to read, the painting you wanted to try, the skills you wanted to learn. It's not about doing nothing. It's about finally giving yourself permission to discover what's truly possible. So there you have it. If you can retire, please do so as soon as you can. Now, I gotta go put some more ice on this knee. If you like this video, you might like this one or this one, and thanks for watching.